Okay, class. So I'm going to show you some parts of the lesson plan and the rubric to get you kind of started. There's going to be multiple videos. This is just the first one. If you go into Google Classroom, you can find the lesson plan template by scrolling down to lesson plan. And if you hit the open button over here, it'll open the assignment, and then you can open the Google Doc. We'll talk about the contextual factors later, but right now we're just going to worry about the Google Doc. Mine's already open, so I'm just going to click over here. So it's multiple pages, so you can kind of see that it has like learning objectives, standards, student grouping. It has a lot of questions, and it's going to be like, how are you going to do this, and then why? There's a lot of why questions. This is really important for me in classroom management because I want to know why you're making the decisions that you're making. A lot of times I might disagree with something and I'm like, why are you working in partners? I would work in small groups. But if you can explain to me why you're doing it and that has really good sound reasons and it promotes student learning and a safe and classroom environment, then I'm like, okay. And that's really your goal here. It's to promote student learning for all students and creating a safe classroom environment. And that means physically safe, emotionally safe, all the types of safes that we can have. If you scroll all the way down the bottom, then you'll be able to see the rubric that I'll be using, which is not a full rubric. It's more like a checklist, but kind of the components that I'm going to be using to assess you on this. Don't delete that part. I'll just, in your Google Doc, I'll be able to write things right in here. So it'll be fine. Notice also, because I made a copy of this for you, when you're ready, as soon as you start typing, I can see things if I go check. But when you're ready to turn it in, you're going to hit this turn in button, and it's going to be that easy. So you can just totally use this in a Google Doc and just hit turn in when you're ready. And this saves it as you go, so you don't have to worry about, remembering to save. Okay, on the right-hand side, all this part, it's a reflection part. You don't have to do the gray part. And it says that in the directions. You don't have to do the gray part because that's only components you would do after you taught. And you're not teaching this lesson, so you don't have to do that part on the right-hand side. Okay, so the first thing on here is your learning goals. And your learning goal is based, or your objective is based on your standards. So you'll want to come down here and paste and have a standard first. I already pasted my standard in and kind of got ahead of the game. So I came over here to the Arkansas standards and the math standards, and I found a 5th grade standard that I wanted. And I copied and pasted. That's not the right one, but I actually copied and pasted it. So I come over here. This is the one I have. It's about classifying 2D figures in a hierarchy based on properties. So that's going to help me to write my objective. But maybe that's a lot. Like classifying 2D figures is a lot. So I may just be coming up here and I'm going to say, yeah, the learner will. So I'm going to use TLW, the learner will. Classify. That is a really good verb, and that's the verb they used. And so and that's a measurable verb. I totally want to keep using it. The learner will classify. I'm not ready for all 2D shapes, so we're just going to do quadrilaterals. Okay, so my sound wasn't going very good, so I had to go backwards. So I actually already have created some things. So let's kind of talk about this again. So I said that the 2D shapes were too much, so we're just going to focus on quadrilaterals, and I want the learners will classify quadrilaterals based on properties. So I'm not ready quite yet for them to do hierarchy. Maybe that might be a tomorrow lesson, and I just want to focus on the properties. So then you come down here and it's like, why have you chosen these goals? So you'll be like, you've already typed this. I did. So I'm thinking, well, shapes, especially quadrilaterals, are important when building and constructing in real world settings. So I need them to know this. Also, knowing the academic vocabulary will help us communicate concepts in mathematics to others. So these are really important. And classifying shapes is relevant in art and architecture because we're going to be using different shapes. And again, we want to be able to communicate in those ways. So I'm going to put that there. Those seem to be enough important reasons there. Now, I'm writing this on the fly. Obviously, I would want you to spend some time in really thinking about it. So I'm writing a lesson plan fairly quickly. So don't always think that mine are the most inclusive answers. You can have more information, better information. I'm just trying to give you like a quick idea of what goes where. Okay, So the next thing, we have our objectives and we have our standards. The next thing really when you're writing a lesson is to determine how you're going to evaluate them. And that should be aligned to your learning objectives. So I'm going to actually copy and paste this. I'm going to copy this so that I remember what it is. I did not do the lesson plan template. Otherwise, evaluation would be at the top. But it is at the end. So I'm going to scroll down here. At evaluation, this is how you're assessing. So how and when do you plan to evaluate student learning on the content of this lesson? How students demonstrate achievement or objective. This is kind of a pre-assessment lesson. It's kind of at the beginning. So I'm going to have, so I already had that. Okay. So students will classify, I'm actually going to delete this. I'm going to start again. The learner will classify quadrilaterals based on properties. This is really important for me. I'm going to have the students in a concept development activity. Students will classify, I'm going to say, yeah, they're going to classify quadrilaterals. I'm just going to classify quadrilaterals based on properties. Students will title each group and explain the properties of that group. All right, so that's what we're going to do, and this is how I'm going to evaluate it. So I've explained in a concept development activity, students will classify quadrilaterals based on properties. Students will title each group and explain the properties of that group. And you know what? I might even have like in an exit slip, students will classify quadrilaterals into two groups. So I might just give like, a particular, like I want you, I don't know what I did there. A particular one. I did not mean to do my edit there. Now I've stressed myself out. That's done. My check mark there. Okay. So there it is. I have that. Okay, so now we're going to come down here. And why have you chosen this approach to evaluation? Okay, so I have two different types of evaluation. In the first activity, that's a group activity. Really, I'm doing that because this is the, oh no. Got to figure out how to turn my edits off. What did I do? Clear formatting. Is that what it is? What did I do? Here, let me press. Okay, so hopefully I fixed that. Okay, so the first one, this is a pre-assessment. So this is the beginning of a unit. So the concept development activity will serve as a pre-assessment. The students are working in small groups and answering out to the entire class, letting me quickly know what vocabulary and ideas the students have about the concept. So then maybe the exit slip will be used to gather individual student progress. Okay, does that make sense? So the first one is more of a group work, and so maybe one or two students I don't really know, but it gives me information right then. It's quick, and so I can really figure out like what we know and what we don't know and kind of address some misconceptions right there. And then the exit slip will be used to gather individual student progress. So there it is. I could even add more information. So now we have these three components that we've done already. Before we even start writing the lesson plan, we've done, or the activities, we've done the standards, objectives, and the evaluation or the assessments. So in our next video, we'll do some of the other components.